All right. Having said that, today is one of the very important topic, all right, that you need to know in order at the end of the day to be able to pass the test, and at the end of the day to see, all right, what is the dispute all about in international law. So you can practice it in your life, you can understand it in the nature of your work, or you can pass the exam at the end. That's the idea. All right. Okay, let's look into the law of treaty. The law of treaty, let me begin. I've sent you, I normally don't give notes to my student, but knowing that you need it, right? Okay, so I've sent you the most skeleton. That is to assist you in your preparation in reading. I have also shared the book, international law book. If you don't have any other book, if you don't buy Gafur to look into it, maybe you have already looked into Michael Shaw. That is the online book. You can also discover books through this free book from the Oxford. I've sent some of the address much earlier to students. All right. Okay, so on that note, we are going to start the law of treaty. All right, there are the first thing. Okay, this is the first thing that you need to understand on the law of treaty. When we talk about law of treaty, in your head, you must remember the convention. There is, all right, only one convention that gives the rule, the procedure, the law that guides the whole world on the treaty. That convention is called Vienna Convention Law of Treaty. Today, you have no excuse that you don't or never seen it before. I've sent it in your WhatsApp group. I've also put up a copy in the U Future. So there's no reason for those people who have problem with the U Future. You know, U Future is really very selfish. They tell us they have no problem, but we know they do have problems, isn't it? Right? Especially in connecting it and especially in downloading materials. But the fact that it make easy through WhatsApp, then you have in your hand the Vienna Convention. Now, okay, that's number one. Rules number one, law of treaty in the whole wide world is governed by this convention. Whether you are a Muslim country, contemporary, whether UK, US, Malaysia, Timbuktu, Tobago, that is the only law that governs Vienna Convention, that governs law of treaty, and that is the Vienna Convention law of treaty. A copy is already in your possession. Right. Now, second part is, although Vienna Convention, the convention is specifically laying out rules for treaty, all right, there are also private treaty that does not want to be governed by Vienna Convention. All right, okay, so that's second one. These rules, all right, although it doesn't govern the running of the content, the formation has to be. All right, jadi Vienna Convention still give the treaty definition. To start with, the treaty definition is really very vital. All right, it has to be in that nature, in that note, in that meaning, in that definition when it comes to treaty. Either your treaty that is official, right, okay, governed from one state to another, or it is private, governing international organization and a state. Remember, in a subject of international law, the party of the subject of international law, there are three. All right. Satu, it's the states. Second is the international organization. Third one is the legal personality. The first one is a state, or in everyday work we call it country. All right. Second one is Second one is international organization. It includes company. All right. The third one is legal personality. This is registered. Registered entity. Seperti the company, the ship, all right, all that have a legal entity, all right, or a country like Israel or a country like Taiwan. They fall into the third category. So as long as these three subjects made an agreement, that agreement is considered as treaty. If the agreement binds a state and anyone, either a state and a state and international organization, a state and, all right, legal personality, these are called treaty. If it's between two states, one state to another state, it's called, all right, international law treaty, all right, it's called a public treaty. If it's a state and international organization and it involves an internationalization with itself or international organization with a legal personality, that is called a private treaty. Okay, right, as I was saying, all right, treaty, state and state, it is considered as public treaty, all right. International organization and the rest, if they are doing the agreement together, that is, all right, is private treaty. Tadi state and state, public treaty. All right, okay. Now, in international law, treaty can be this and can be that. Can be private treaty, can be public treaty. All right, there's no problem about that. But then, all right, if you want to create a treaty that is legally binding, when it is a treaty between one state to another, it has to follow the formation of treaty in the Vienna Convention procedure, right? Okay, if you are private treaty, you want the legality of the treaty to be upheld, all right, to be good, all right, then you have to mention the procedure. Still, formation will have to be identified in the nature of the law of treaty found in Vienna Convention. Okay, right. And now, in Vienna Convention, you will see Article 2 of the Vienna Convention. So, let's look into Vienna Convention, Article 2. Mana saya punya ni tadi? Alright, okay. Alright. That's Vienna Convention. I send you that one. Make sure, look at the title. It's Vienna Convention on Law of Treaties. And it is not Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relation or Consular Relation. There are 21 others wording almost similar. Start with the word Vienna Convention. Yeah, all right, okay. The mother of all the law of treaties is Vienna Convention. Under it, there are 21 others that start with the word Vienna Convention. All right, this Vienna Convention is codification. All right, let's look into Vienna Convention a minute. Okay, the most important is that, okay, right, the first one, noting, you have to note that the principles that govern the codification of this Vienna Convention is through free consent and good faith and pacta sunt servanda. Okay, so therefore, these three principles must govern all treaty. All right, you have to prove that all these three principles appear when you are about to validate whether the treaty that is posed to you is considered as valid or not. Number one, the nature of the treaty must be made in the nature of the three principles that governs. Principles of free consent, principles of good faith, principles of pacta sunt servanda. Okay, so that one is another different understanding. But we are going to look into the formation through the procedure inside the Vienna Convention. While we are looking into the procedure in the Vienna Convention, you will be listening to the discussion how principle of free consent, principle of good faith, and principle of pacta sunt servanda is reflected in the formation of the treaty. right, in the formation of the treaty. Okay, right. Now that is, I'm going to highlight only this first page. It's called the preamble of convention. Right. Okay, in the preamble, we are going to pay attention only to the third, fourth paragraph. Right. Okay, that is the one that you have to understand. This one, through the course of talking about the procedure and everything else today, you will be highlighted how the principle of free consent, principles of good faith, and principles of fakta sunt servanda is reflected inside the formation. That's the reason why, right? Either the treaty is private treaty or public treaty, it must meet the procedure of formation of treaty under the Vienna Convention 1969. Okay, right. Now next one, look at, okay, this part 1, all right, look at Article 2A, right? In A, Article 2A, it says that treaty means an international agreement concluded between states in written form and governed by international law, whether embodied in a single instrument or in two or more related instruments, and whether it's particular designation. All right. Now, how do you explain A? Definition of treaty. All right. In another word, put at the end over there, all right, that this treaty definition in 2A gives you the element. That's the note that I send you. The first part, in order for you to form, you have to understand the element what makes legal a treaty in the eyes of international law according to Vienna Convention 1969, Section 2A. All right. So what is in Section 2A is the element to form a valid treaty according to international law. All right. Okay. Now, let's look into that document that I sent you. Okay. Saya dah pandai sikit ni pakai share document. Right. Kalau tidak, sekejap. Okay. You have in your hand the element, right? I want you to know that is how you made your notes. But then if you need to clarify and write more next to whatever has been written to you. Does it appear in your screen? Can you see it in your screen? If you don't see it, all right. Sorry, dear, Zahin.
I only see the browser.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I didn't click to share this one because I don't want to disturb, but then I have sent the document. So open up your document and look at it. See, over there, I have put up, right, formation of a valid treaty, right, under Section 2A. All right, okay, Section 2A of the Vienna Convention, you'll be able to see the element. There are 5 elements over here, over there. All right, sekejap Right, I'm referring to this document. Right, element number 1 is that treaty must have international character. Okay, treaty means an international agreement. That is element number 1, international agreement. Element number 2 must be in the written form. Element number 3, all right, okay, governed by international law. Element number 5 is the instrument, either embodied in one or in more instrument. All right. Okay, there are 5 elements altogether. Okay. Now, apa dia yang 5 element tu? Element number 1, treaty must have international character. It must be in the written form, governed by international law, embodied in single or more instrument. And last, there is an intention to create legal relation. All right, all that is the explanation under that Section 2A. That is the one that we are going to look at and explain. In your explanation, you will need to connect it to the principle of good faith. All right. Okay, when we talk about treaty must have international character, what does it mean? All right. What does it mean? It means, number one, the treaty must be voluntarily attended or adhered to by other states and states, right? International character means it demands international legal personality. It could be a state, it could be international organization that is registered, or it could be the legal personality. All right. The third one is referring to legal personality that represent a state, such as ship, such as company, such as a state to be. All right. They are not a state, but they are a state to be, like Israel and Taiwan. All right. Okay, I'll give it a minute. All right. So, do you understand what it means? Let's look into this one. All right. Okay. International character. We want to say that number one, who is the international character? A state, international organization, and legal personality. Boleh? All right. Now, when we say that international character, right? This international character, in order to show that they have acted in the treaty, right, to be representing the principles of free consent, they must go to the treaty voluntarily. Okay, right? Bukan freely, voluntarily. All right, the word is voluntary. And then when they go there voluntarily, it meets the principles of free consent. Right? Who asked you to go and sign the treaty? The state wanted to do it themselves. Nobody persuaded it. All right. Okay. Now we'll talk about it in a minute. All right. Then the international character number two. The character number two, it must meet principles of good faith. Right? What is principles of good faith? Good faith. Remember the English word of good faith? It's bona fide, right? Good faith, it's always very difficult when it comes to faith to be presented, but it is easy when you look into the action of the states. All right. If they go there because they some states, when they go to sign a treaty that is being drafted by United Nations, sometimes they go not in the interest of signing, but in the interest of, all right, observing how many countries signs it. If they feel there are a country that is similar condition with their country, or that is being favored by the country that they are going to invest, all right, those are very difficult to establish in the intention, but very easy to establish in the action. So how do you know they are going to the treaty in good faith? All right, because nobody knows how good faith is being discharged, but the moment they signed a draft treaty or the open treaty, that shows that they are willing. That's the reason why the person who signed must be a person who is legally representing the state or the organization or the legal personality. Right? So the act of signing shows that there is a meeting of principles of bona fide, principles of good faith. The next one, okay, all right. What will be the next one just now? You now are explaining the word international character. The last one is Pacta sunt servanda. This last one is rarely can be seen on the beginning of the formation, but it can be seen through the exercise of responsibility or to the practical responsibility acted by the state. That's later. All right. Tapi a treaty that have these two in the beginning of, all right, the action has already complied with two most important principles of free consent and good faith, right? If your state doesn't want to sign the treaty, all right, that means you are not sending the person who have authorization to sign on behalf of the state, right? Okay, so you send an observers, you send a scientist to the treaty, you send a lecturer to a treaty, you send the deputy to the treaty to just observe. That is an action showing there is no interest of signing. Right? Because when a treaty is open for signature, all right, the treaty is already completed. Your act of signing, all right, by sending the right person who has been commissioned by the state to represent the state, right, that shows you have abide by the principle of free consent and the principles of bona fide, the principles of good faith. All right, that is seen in the reflection of treaty must have international character. All right, okay, so in exam, every time when we talk about the treaty must be, all right, in the element number 1, in international character, look into the problem that is given, all right, pick up the party, look whether the party have international character. Right. When we talk of the party must have international character,